up with all the latest sports news and results from around the globe.
Hello, I'm Chris Mitchell. This is Sport Today, live from the BBC Sports Centre. Coming up for you, the hosts are barred. The Confederation of African Football bans Morocco from the Cup of Nations and seeks a new destination. Find out why this suspended world #1 is a hero in Malaysia, but banned from badminton for doping. And leading us all a merry dance, all the way to Sochi, the races were manipulated and Vanessa May is banned. Morocco will not host the Africa Cup of Nations and it will not play for the Cup. Hello, this is Sport Today. CAF, the Confederation of African Football, have met in Egypt to consider their options for the tournament that was due to be held in Morocco in January, and they have decided in the past hour by releasing a statement that Morocco will not host the tournament and will play no part in it. John Bennett is here, our football reporter. You've seen the details of this statement. What more do we know? Do we know any more?
Well, 67 days to go until the start of the tournament. Big stars like Yaya Toure, Wilfried Bony still do not know where they will be playing this Africa Cup of Nations. Today, as you said, we learnt that Morocco will no longer be host. They've been dropped as hosts. That's because they refused to host the tournament on time. The Moroccan government requested a postponement because of their fears over the spread of the Ebola virus. The Confederation of African Football, African football's governing body, were always stubborn in their assessment that the tournament will start on time. So the question now is, with Morocco dropped as hosts and banned from the tournament as well, where will the tournament be hosted now? That will be discussed, we're told, on Wednesday. Various nations, such as Ghana, Egypt, South Africa, have already said no to hosting. I understand that 3 nations have put in applications to take over from Morocco. That will be discussed, and that will be crucial as well. Where it takes place will be crucial, because then we'll have to hear from the players and the clubs about how happy they will be to be playing in the Africa Cup of Nations despite the spread of Ebola in 3 nations in Africa.
Do we know who those 3 nations are, where they are?
We don't, Chris, at the moment have any concrete information on that. There has been a lot of talk about whether previous hosts, countries that are hosted recently, can possibly step up. Gabon has been mentioned. They were 2012 hosts. They've got 2 stadiums which were used just 2 years ago. A 3rd stadium has just been built. Angola hosted the tournament in 2010. Could they be one of the nations as well? But I mentioned it, 10 weeks to go until the start of the tournament. The worries would be, would infrastructure be ready? Would the stadiums be ready? Would everything be ready to host this tournament? It's a very, very short time to host what is a big, big competition, the Africa Cup of Nations, the showpiece event in African football.
There is absolutely no chance, though, that the tournament will ultimately not take place. Because, as you say, there's very little time now to put things in place in a different country or countries.
We've seen how things can change over the next few weeks, so I would definitely not rule it out, but I would say the chances are slim. The Confederation of African Football determined that 1, this tournament will go ahead, determined that 2, this tournament will start on time. A lot of people have said, why not delay it another year? But the Confederation of African Football say, why should we do that? This is our showpiece event. We want to put on a good show. Why should we let anything stop us?
Clearly, there's a danger that they won't put on a good show, though, because they won't have time to organise a good show. John Bennett, thank you very much indeed. He's one of the biggest stars in Malaysia. He's the world's #1 badminton player, but Lee Chong-wei is in big trouble. He's been provisionally suspended from the sport of badminton after a 2nd positive doping test. What does this mean? Jennifer Pack is our correspondent in Kuala Lumpur, and she told me just a moment ago how this news is being received in Malaysia.
Lee Chong-wei is one of the few people in Malaysia, in this very divided country, to bring people together to watch his games, whether they are Muslim, non-Muslim, whether they're ethnically Malay, Chinese, or Indian. He is one of the few people during his matches who could draw all of these people to sit together in roadside food stalls to watch his games. He is seen as a national icon because he could bridge the divide in this country, and that's why they care about this story. They want to see Malaysia to be proud on the international stage. This is a small country of just 30 million people. They don't get many other sports where they can medal in the Olympics. Mr. Lee is their one and only hope at this point in time, especially in badminton, because it is a national sport. Yes, you see people playing behind me, but there are people out on the streets at nighttime after dinner who are playing the sport themselves as well. And many of them, again, have been inspired by Mr. Lee. So a lot of them are very saddened, they're very shocked, they're very surprised at this potential news that he would be suspended for up to 2 years.
Vanessa Mae, the popular violinist, has been banned from competitive skiing for 4 years. As you've been hearing in the news, no doubt, the International Ski Federation have taken the action after discovering that she had taken part in races that were fixed to allow her to qualify for the Winter Olympics in Sochi. Well, joining us live now is Chemi Alcott, the British skier. Chemi, thank you very much for joining us live on the programme. First of all, let's get your reaction to this. As a professional skier, and, you know, what is the community saying of professional skiers to this news that she effectively cheated her way to the Winter Olympics?
Well, there's a lot of heat on Twitter. I think for me, myself, I fought against the whole Eddie the Eagle mockery for so long that it's sad for this to come back into our sport and make people think that you can cheat your way to get to the Olympics, because this is the first I've ever really understood about it. I actually know Vanessa, and I saw her training last summer, and I was actually impressed by how hard she was training. So I'm really disappointed that this has come out. I mean, it's really bad for our sport, but I want to really drum in that it doesn't happen often.
How can you manipulate race results up in the mountains? That is what the FIS, the Federation of International Skiing, is saying has happened. But, I mean, you've been there, you've been in these races. How easy or difficult would this be? It's
incredible because our sport is against the clock. So for me, it's black and white. But the extent that they went to cheat is incredible. There were girls who were on the race results who weren't even on the mountain. There were people who were already on course before the start wand had gone. You know, they went to huge attempts to make this happen. And that's, you know, there was a lot of planning for this to happen. It wasn't something that they just thought about on the day. And that's what really kind of sours it for me. And, you know, the Olympics is the be-all and end-all of every athlete's career. I spent 20 years chasing my dreams to get there. And even after getting injured, you know, my Sochi dreams were in the balance, and I just got there. And my husband, he didn't make it. You know, the British criteria is really, really tough. So to see that someone can cheat their way to make their dreams can happen, and the ban actually isn't going to affect her that much, because her vision was to get to the Olympics. She doesn't want to keep going on to be a ski racer. You know, she's gone on back to her old life, and I'm really, really sad by this.
We haven't got much time, Chemi, I'm afraid, but it's all rather convenient, isn't it, that this comes out now, because Vanessa Mae was a face of the Sochi Winter Games. Why didn't they take action sooner?
In the IOC's defence, these results that we're talking about, they happened just before the game. So this was a last-minute panic from her and her team, possibly, to go, you know, she hasn't qualified for the Olympics, she isn't good enough, let's put on these races. And this did happen just before the games started. But, you know, everyone likes to glamorise sport, and she brought a lot of story into the Olympics. And it's just sad that she's left the Olympics, and there's a lot of story now too.